Hello and welcome back to another week in new genre books. My name is Amelia, and from Locus Magazine, I'm about to tell you the top new science fiction, fantasy, and horror books being published the week of December 5th, 2023. December already? I hope you're taking good care of yourself as we get ready to close out this last month of 2023. First up, science fiction, we have 8 new books. From the lovely Jeff Ryman, we have Him, out from Angry Robot UK, in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction novel, a retelling of the story of Jesus, dealing with religious belief, gender identity, divinity, and alternate reality. From the review in Locus by Ian Mond. The central conceit of Jeff Ryman's Him is to imagine an alternative history where Jesus is born female, but identifies as male. It's a provocative premise that seems designed to offend people of faith. And yet, while gender identity is a crucial aspect of the novel, Him is, in fact, a respectful and somewhat authentic rendition of Jesus' life, told mainly from the perspective of his mother, Miriam. For names and places, Ryman adopts Aramaic, the common tongue, rather than Hebrew, Greek, or English. It's also a novel infused with beauty and compassion that embraces humanity's flaws and contradictions. From Gabrielle Korn, we have Yours for the Taking, out from St. Martin's in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a near-future queer dystopian novel about people building the Inside Project, a worldwide series of weather-safe, city-sized structures, and all the others praying to be allowed to live in them. From Charles E. Gannon, we have Protected Species, out from Baen in hardcover and ebook. This is a fantasy novel, the 7th in the Kane Riordan series. Kane Riordan and his self-styled crew have survived their first months on the planet they call Bacterigaria, but now must face off against the genocidal ex-cow. From Mona Lisa Foster, we have Threading the Needle, out from Baen in trade paperback and ebook. This is a science fiction space opera novel. Talia Merritt, a former military sniper once known as Death's Handmaiden, hopes to start anew on the colony world of Goroden, a hardscrabble planet of frontier-minded people seeking a better life. From Richard Fox, we have Light of the Veil, out from Baen in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction novel, first in the Shattered Star Legacy series. David Artan, a dock rat saving up to get off his poor fringe world, discovers he's attuned to the Veil, an ancient power that allows passage to a very different dimension. What could possibly go wrong? From Aman Malo, we have On the Isle of Antioch, out from World Editions in trade paperback and ebook. This is an apocalyptic science fiction novel translated from the French Nos Frères Inattentus by Natasha Lehrer. A cartoonist on a remote Atlantic island finds himself and a woman neighbor cut off from the world by a gigantic power failure and the seemingly imminent collapse of civilization. And look, let's go on a little walk here. When we say the collapse of civilization, what is it? What is it, between you and me, that we're most afraid of? It's not the collapse of infrastructure. I don't think it's that. Civilization's not something that exists outside of us. Like, all of us humans get up every day and we make civilization. And then we say we're worried about sea level rise and crop failure, and that seems reasonable. But I think that what we're really worried about when we talk about the end of the world or the collapse of civilization is the collapse of human relationships, because we've got some time left before the sun turns into a red giant and absorbs the earth. Like, a lot of time. Let's do what we can with it. From Chris McKinny, we have Sunset Water City, out from Soho Crime in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction noir mystery novel, third in the Water City trilogy, set in 2160. The nameless protagonist of the first 2 books is deep in his grief. His daughter Ascalon tries to undo Akira's plotting and free what's left of the human race. From Debbie Urbansky, we have Afterworld, out from Simon & Schuster in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a post-apocalyptic science fiction novel. In order to save the environment, all mankind is digitally archived, and rewilding begins. One human remains abandoned by her mother in a remote cabin. An AI tasked with writing a novel develops sentience and falls in love with this last human on Earth. A first novel. From Timothy Zahn, we have The IUS Twin, out from Baen in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a space opera science fiction novel, second in the series begun in The Icarus Hunt. Gregory Rourke and his partner used to comb through the atmospheres of uninhabited worlds for places that might be colonized or hold valuable resources. Now, they quietly work for the Icarus Group, a top-secret government organization hunting for portals created by a long-vanished alien race. Next up, horror, we have 2 new books. From Gemma Amor, we have The Folly, out from Paulus in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a gothic suspense novel. Morgan has spent the last 6 years campaigning for her father's release from prison, knowing he did not murder her mother. When he is finally set free, they take the opportunity to move to The Folly, a granite tower on the Cornish coastline. It's idyllic at first, until a stranger arrives imitating Morgan's mother. From Allie Wilkes, we have Where the Dead Wait, out from Bestler in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a Victorian gothic horror novel mixing the supernatural and survival in the story of an Arctic explorer who once ate the dead to survive and is now searching for a lost shipmate with the man's wife, an American spiritualist. Eerie events follow. Next up, fantasy, we have 12 titles. From Bradley P. Boleo, we have The Dragons of Deepwood Fen, out from Daw in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the first in the Book of the Holt trilogy. Inquisitor Lorelei Aurelius discovers that the church she works for is meeting with the enemy. She meets and frees a notorious thief who's exploring the same mystery. Now both on the run, they flee on Dragonback and discover that a powerful demigod is about to be awakened in a holy shrine, and the church is gonna allow it. From Chicodili Emilamadu, we have Dazzling, out from the Overlook Press in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a debut novel, a fantasy novel inspired by Igbo myths and magic about 2 Nigerian girls. Treasure, who is tempted by a spirit to do something terrible to bring her dead father back to life, and Ozoemena, who has discovered her destiny to become a leopard and defend her land. From Justin Lee Anderson, we have The Bitter Crown, out from Orbit US in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the second in the Aiden Saga series. The fog of war is lifted and the conspiracy at the heart of Aiden finally exposed. Now that they know the truth, Aronach and his allies must find a way to free a country that doesn't know it's held captive. From Jess Armstrong, we have The Curse of Penrith Hall, out from Minotaur in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a historical mystery novel set in post-World War I England with fantasy elements. Bookseller Ruby Vaughn delivers rare books to a folk healer / witch in the Cornish countryside. She visits her friend and her husband, the local lord, who live in the foreboding fortress of Penrith Hall. And then there's a gruesome death in the orchard, and locals whisper of a returned curse. From Melissa Landers, we have Make Me a Liar, out from Hyperion in hardcover and ebook. This is a young adult fantasy novel. High schooler Tia Dante uses her gift of a transferable consciousness to help out her classmates for a fee, until one job where Tia sees a breaking news broadcast of her, meaning her body, committing a murder. She has to find a way to clear her name. From Sean Lusk, we have The Second Sight of Zachary Cloudsley, out from Union Square & Co. in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a historical fantasy novel. In 18th century London, Zachary's watchmaker father makes him an eye that gives him the second sight, then disappears, leaving Zachary to undertake a perilous journey to find him. From A.K. Mulford, we have A River of Golden Bones, out from Harper Voyager US in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy romance novel, first in the Golden Court trilogy, inspired by the story of Sleeping Beauty. A young heir comes out of hiding to save her twin from a sorceress with a dangerous sleeping curse. From KJ Parker, we have Avis Korax Gets Away with Murder, out from Orbit US in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the third book in the Korax series. Battlefield salvager Avis Korax has had enough and wants to retire, but first he has to get away with one last score and also get away with murder. From Gabriela Demian Maravete, we have They Will Dream in the Garden, out from Rosarium Publishing in trade paperback. This is a collection of 11 surreal, horror, fantasy, and science fiction stories, including the 2018 Otherwise Award-winning title story, translated from the Spanish by Adrienne Demopoulos. From Foz Meadows, we have All of the Hidden Paths, out from Tor in hardcover and ebook. This is a fantasy political thriller / romance novel, second in the Tithe Night Chronicles series, begun in A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. Political ramifications of Velasine and Cathari's marriage are still playing out across 2 nations, and soon they're summoned north to the capital to present themselves to its monarch. From Melissa Weisner, we have The Second Chance Year, out from Forever in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy rom-com novel. Pastry chef Sadie, after a bad year, makes a New Year's Eve wish that comes true and gives her a chance to redo the last year, but maybe the bad choices she made were the right things to do after all? We never know, do we? That wraps up this week. Thanks for spending some time with us at Locus. We set out to try to tell you about everything reasonably interesting that's going on in the science fiction, fantasy, horror publishing space. We appreciate your attention and your time. If you've got it in your heart to show some love and hit some buttons, we would appreciate it. Locus Magazine and the Locus YouTube channel are a labor of love. We are at Locus Mag or at Locus Magazine on most platforms. You can read more about the science fiction, fantasy, and horror field over at www.locusmag.com or support us on our Patreon. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Come back and see us again soon, and we'll be here next week with more new books.